This is a disclaimer. This podcast features 4 professional idiots who share their insights and anecdotes. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. This podcast represents the opinions of the guests and should not be taken as medical, legal, or professional advice.
All right.
Craig, you sound like a robotic. What is he, a bear or is he a squirrel?
I think it's a bear.
I think he's a bear talking in front of a microphone.
You sent me everything you've talked about.
There you go. Yeah, send me all that.
It's actually not that far off from Dan in that case. A bear talking in front of a microphone.
Did you just call Dan gay?
I called him a bear of a man more so, but I mean, if you want to go that way with it, Ben, we were talking about it before of how, you were inside of Dan, so.
I'm going to keep these clips entirely separate so no one has no idea what we're talking about. I just wonder how to include those.
If none of this ends up in the cold open, Dan, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed in you.
I was going to edit in the actual intro. Like the one I did the script for and just be like, all right, and now the power of editing.
No. Everybody knows you do a cold open first, then you do the intro song, then you do the actual intro.
How is that how it works?
You tease a funny moment first. That's how this works.
PJ, can you talk quickly?
Yeah, what's up?
There we go. Okay.
He's just monitoring the audio to make sure we're all not...
It hadn't actually shown you in the client, and that's because I think it's because you hadn't talked.
I think because he hadn't spoken.
It was
PJ's
cool.
PJ's the dark horse. He's the dark, tall, quiet horse.
I wait for a good pun to come around.
It's true, God.
I'll show you a good pun come around. Fuck.
Yeah. Too much effort. You tried too hard. Alex, God damn it.
Wow.
It's okay, Ben. I'll be in charge of when stuff is coming. Don't worry.
Nah. See, it's just like that. It's just offhanded and slick. All right, so basically last week I did a very poor job of actually explaining what the hell this podcast is. I also didn't explain that there would be a rotation of guests because we're all working adults. We all have responsibilities, interpersonal jobs, and, adulting to do. I am Dan Casey, MD, your local doctor idiot, here to share my tales. And I am accompanied by Ben Mishler, our resident rocket scientist.
Hello. And
joining us in rotation for my brother Patrick, the lawyer, is Alex K. Alex, say hi.
Hello. I'm the law student. Almost a lawyer, but almost is, close enough.
You're like 87, 90% there. I don't know.
Close enough.
Some percentage of.
Except for the bar and character and fitness. And, honestly, as soon as they find the bodies in the backyard, I'm pretty fucked, but we'll see.
The ground up bodies in the freezer. Those ones are fine, though.
I mean, they'll never find those.
No, yeah. Ground coffee ground.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
How I like my coffee, ground up, just like my women, ground up and in the freezer.
Yeah, we're never releasing this. You're not recording this, right?
No.
Oh.
Anyways,
cool.
Listeners, also joining me today in rotation for Ramon, our resident pharmacist, is our other retail pharmacist, PJ.
I'm PJ. I'm the resident dope dealer on the corner.
Legal drug dealer. So I figured I'd introduce you guys. I'll let you guys just take the floor, say a little bit about yourselves. I figure the whole episode, the theme of this episode is going to be life plans. How do we get where we are now? We each have very, very different sort of trajectories. But as just a general intro, I'll let you guys take the floor.
Well, since no one is talking, I will fill the silence.
That's what I wanted. It's just complete silence.
Yep. Dead air. That's what every podcast needs, everybody. Well, I originally, when I was younger, I wanted to go into the sciences and be like a scientist kind of fellow. And then I had my soul crushed at a couple of jobs. And now I'm becoming a lawyer. So, I'm just a glutton for punishment.
I was going to say, I was like, it's out of the frying pan and into the fire, kind of. But
yeah, but it's the frying pan where the money is.
Aren't you going for patent lawyer, so you're even more a glutton for punishment because you have to take not 1, but 2 bars?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's what they say.
That sounds awful.
One of them is not nearly so bad as the other from what everybody's been telling me, but
Yeah, Yeah, that's the first bar.
Oh, okay. I will be honest. Everybody has told me, like, oh, law school was so terrible, wah, wah, wah. And it's like, I worked with some PhD students in a science lab for like a year, and they worked about 3 times harder than most law students I know. So
There's some fire.
just saying.
I feel like my brother tells me a lot. He's just like, I couldn't go into medicine. But I'll let him tell that next week. PJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Really never thought about anything too seriously other than pharmacy. There was a point where I wanted to become a history professor. Like, history was always interesting, but I never figured I could make ends meet doing history or teaching history, so didn't really pursue it for too long. But my dad was always a pharmacist, so I looked at him, kind of saw how it worked, and was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll let Dan kind of explain more, but I didn't really want to become a doctor, even though as culturally my entire family wants me to this day become a doctor.
You were just telling me that, like, I'll let you tell it, because, like, you told me the story, man.
So I graduated pharmacy school when I was 22, I believe, and just about to turn 23. So I was kind of proud of myself, and I was like, yeah, we kind of start working, let's make the money, like, all right, let's go for it. So the day after my graduation, we're sitting at the dinner table, talking about future plans and where I'm going to work and so on and so forth. My dad's like, you're going to work? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, wait, you didn't do this just to go to med school? I'm like, no. No, I didn't get a PharmD, a doctorate in pharmacy, to go back into medical school. He's like, are you sure?
You accomplished one dream, go do it again.
And like he legit thought I was going to go do that. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He must have looked at how fast you trailblazed it. You speed run getting a doctorate.
Yeah, that's true.
And then he's like, well, obviously you're going to get a different, better doctorate, better in my mind.
Yeah.
Let's delve into that more in a bit.
Yeah.
I figure I'll start off because I, picked the topic, but I am kind of also this most quote unquote traditional path. I'm the straightforward, straight through medicine, and I'll figure I'll start early and rush through that and get to the kind of the meat and potatoes of the story. But I am very much the quote unquote traditional med student, traditional trajectory. The hardships I had, I conquered, and then even now I have my dream job, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm bored. And so I started a podcast. So I was going to be an artist. I was big into painting, big into coloring. I got one of those, like, you remember when we were kids, those big boxed coloring sets with like markers, water paints, watercolors, and colored pencils?
Wait, did you have one of the 94 packs, like 100 and something packs?
It was probably at some point. It was like the pack.
The one with the sharpener button.
Yes,
it had a sharpener in it. Yeah. I think I did have one of those.
You wanted to be an artist
until I was 5. I got that when I was like 4 years old, and I drew and I drew and I drew and I drew for a year, and I didn't get any better. So I don't know why I had high standards for myself at 5 years old, but I quickly switched to wanting to be a veterinarian. I loved animals. I cared about animals. And then I turned 11 and I stopped caring. No, I'm just kidding.
You tried to draw animals. You couldn't. So I can care for animals if I can't draw them.
I still love animals. I just, my life took a drastic turn. My father, who was a police sergeant actually, was in an on-duty car accident. He was basically stopped at a red light, and some kid who was late for his auto technical class blew a red light going like 70 and a 45, clipped a car in the intersection, and parked his car in my dad's door going like an estimated 55 or 60 miles per hour. It's a bad day when you hit a cop car. It's a bad day when you get hit by a car going 60. So my dad had pretty significant injuries after that. Basically, he had a C2 vertebrae fracture, a cervical spine fracture that went undiagnosed for a year. And this was at kind of the beginning of the opioid pandemic. Like, it wasn't a big registered or really recognized problem yet, but people were starting to catch on that you shouldn't just keep throwing opioids at people and hoping they get better. So a lot of his problems, he had many, many underlying health issues as a result of that. And doctors kept shuffling him around, thinking he was pain-seeking, thinking he was making stuff up. Later on, we also found out he had a brain tumor. And so this is a long roundabout way of saying I got thrust into the medical system against my own will. And as just this passive observer, I got to witness kind of the spectrum of healthcare providers. And I did get to appreciate the difference from people who just thought my dad was trying to get pain pills to people who actually took time and sat down, and I could literally see the wheels turning and see them trying to think through problems and go through a differential. And I got to see that like difference of like, oh, I got a hand on the door handle ready to go see the next patient because I'm a half hour behind, and here's your pain pills, go see pain management. Well, and then, the specialist who actually figured out, it ended up being an eye doctor who diagnosed his brain tumor, which in my medical training in hindsight is actually not that shocking. That it took he saw like a neurologist and he saw an endocrinologist, and he ended up having a pituitary tumor, which is the master gland of the body. So basically years went by, this one undiagnosed, he had a lot of underlying health problems, and I was exposed to all this, so I switched my path to medicine. But I was a jock. I was a football player. I played basketball. Not well, but I played it. I switched gears and thought, well, I'll just be an orthopedic surgeon. I'm good with my hands. I like doing stuff and fixing things. Kind of combines all my interests. I like science. And so it just was one of those things I'm like, all right, this is what I'll do. One other thing about chronic pain that I don't think people necessarily understand is how much it really does affect like the whole family unit. That when one person's suffering, everyone suffers because everyone's a caretaker. And I spent my, developing years caretaking and taking care of my father and going through all of that. And so that shaped me in a big way and kind of pushed me towards medicine. I went to college, and part of it too, I should back up and say that getting good grades wasn't something I consciously did and pushed myself to do well in school and whatnot. Because I'm the smart know-it-all. I mean, I was, but I was still an uptight, anal retentive little kid who just liked to show off. But I also realized that bringing home good grades made my dad really happy. And with the underlying mental health issues of depression and anxiety that goes along with chronic pain, it was really nice to see I could put a smile on his face. So I really pushed myself to do that. Fast forward, I went through college. I made really good friends who kind of helped me pull the stick out of my butt and made me a lot more even keel person. And I applied to med school and I got in right away. I still pushed myself to do well in school, and I made academics a priority. Maybe sometimes more so than I should have, to my detriment. Go ahead.
A stick up your butt or crayon out of your sharpener? But your call.
Or both. But exactly. I was the quote-unquote traditional student, which if you don't know means you go straight from college, you get into med school right off the bat. Found out real quick that's not traditional anymore. In fact, in my med school class, we had somebody who was, I want to say he was 54, was like a yoga practitioner, very holistic-based kind of medical approach, but wanted to actually help people and went to med school to do it. So the age range in our class was very wide, and we had lots of different backgrounds. I think we even had a music major in our class at one point. So I found out real quick I was not anything special because I went straight through college and straight into med school. I was actually kind of in the minority. So for those people who don't know, it's like, oh, you're a doctor. You went to med school and graduated med school. Well, yeah, you're an MD in name, but you can't really do anything with an MD. I guess you can do consulting and make money that way, but you inevitably, if you want to actually practice medicine, almost always have to go and do a residency. And residency is where you turn, you're the boys to men of becoming a doctor. It's really the grind and the hellish training that produces healthcare professionals. The 80 to 100 hour work weeks that you hear about. In fact, I have a little tidbit about this. I looked this up and I think I posted it to the Discord. But the inventor of residency was Dr. William Stewart Halstead. He invented the residency training system used in the United States. Fun fact, he also introduced rubber surgical gloves. I didn't know that. But this man...
No,
go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those two things are pretty good.
Yeah, this is quite impressive resume for 2 sentences. But also, this man worked 100 to 120 hours on average because he was addicted to cocaine and morphine that he dosed himself.
Nope. Nope.
And as a resident, when I think, I'm like, how do you do this? How do you go into a surgical residency, neurosurgery? You want to do surgery on the brain. Brain surgeons do 7 years residency. In primary care, I did 3 and then 1 year of fellowship to get where I am. How the hell do you do this for 7 years? I'm like, oh, okay, cocaine, that'll do it. So that man did it for a career, and he built the system on which we are trained.
Cocaine, you need to sleep, do some morphine. It's fine.
It's fine.
So if anybody asks, medicine is built on the piles of cocaine and morphine. Good to know.
Yeah, in the American system, which makes
Just like law.
I mean, yeah, just probably.
I've seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it's the same.
That's the business
Financial.
world, man.
Yeah, financiers are the same as law.
Oh, do not associate me with finance people. Those guys are the worst. Scum of the earth. Come at me, finance bros. Come at me.
I feel like Alex. I think Alex just went Super Saiyan. Everybody watch out.
You will be good for next week's story or next week's topic. So yeah, I did residency in family medicine, which is primary care, but everybody kind of does. And just to give some education on like how residency training works, everyone kind of does the same year, and everybody hears, "Oh, it's intern. You're in intern year." Like, yeah, but it's pretty much built into most curriculums and training. What that means and allows you to do is you can get the meat and potatoes of medical training and how to work in a hospital and kind of the big important chunks of foundational medicine. So if you want to do radiology, you're not just a radiologist who doesn't understand how doctors do 80% of what they do. You get the meat and potatoes of your training, your intern year, and then you can subspecialize in primary care, internal medicine, even to some small degree surgery. You keep doing that more. And then you do that for whatever set number of years your program is. 4 is probably the average. In my case, family medicine was 3. And then you can either choose to begin work in your respective field or subspecialize by doing a fellowship. So like people are like, oh, you're an orthopedic surgeon. You do surgery on bones and joints. Well, you can do a fellowship in like shoulder replacement. You can do a fellowship in joint revision. You can do a fellowship in specific joints, foot and ankle, or hand. Like it gets more specialized. You get more good at something very specific. So that's what goes into the blood, sweat, and tears and years of training. The way I ended up where I was, because I knew in my heart of hearts, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. I'm going to be an orthopod. It's in my bones. I want to fix bones. Until I got to my 3rd year of med school, where if you don't know, the first 2 years of med school are just classroom learning, and the second 2 years are clinicals, where you're going into rotations. You're kind of treated like a resident who doesn't know anything, so you're just tagging along, shadowing, but you're also expected to see patients and try to help out. And depending to the degree of the rotation, you might actually just be like depended on to get stuff done, which is kind of terrifying in retrospect. I knew I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon until I did my surgery rotation. I actually did trauma surgery. Yeah, I did trauma surgery where we did 30-hour calls, and that didn't deter me. I literally was like hallucinating on my drive home, terrified that I was going to blink and wake up in the ER. But that didn't stop me. What stopped me was like my general, and I think it was on oncology surgery service. Because you do like 3 weeks of trauma and then 3 weeks of like some service. And I got oncology, which is probably the worst one to get. So on oncology, they were long days, like 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. sometimes. Because if the surgery room ran behind, every case that day ran behind, and surgery doesn't just get rescheduled, because then you just postpone more surgeries. So what the final straw for me was, I was working with, I'm not going to say names, working with this surgeon who was very renowned in his field, but to put it as plainly as I can, he's a dick. He's the biggest, shortest dick I've ever seen. And he
was a chode, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Perfect.
A chode of a human. Basically, he just spent the entire like surgery, because he was very good at what he did. He could do these like surgeries in his sleep. But he would just berate you. He would just insult you to your core while questioning you, like test question type style. Pimping is what we call it in medicine. You just like on the spot of the million medical facts you need to have in your brain. Here's this really, obtuse or esoteric. What is the answer to this question? And you need to know it or you're a dumbass. And so that's medical training in a nutshell, especially when you're a 3rd year medical student, where they're really just trying to flush out whether or not you're a top tier legend.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to ask, why do they call it pimping, Dan?
That's a good question. Here, let me Google that really quick. Why is medical questions called pimping? That's what I Googled. I don't know.
Because they wanted to make you feel like a whore.
Students on the spot medical questions. German word Pumphrage, meaning pump question. So it's just like they pump you, symbolizing the often speedy cadence in which physicians pose their questions. They pump you full of questions so that you answer real quick. I mean, ultimately, it's just the Socratic method. It's question and recall. And it's the emotional fear and trauma that's... You're never going to forget that answer again because you got it wrong in front of a room full of doctors. So that's how the Socratic, and how the culture of medicine used to be, and in some ways still is. But pump phrase is a German word. I didn't know that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Of course the Germans do that. Why not?
Of course, the Germans created this. So basically, all of that aside, that didn't deter me. I hated it, but it didn't deter me. It was one night, I think it was like almost 8 o'clock. So I'd been there for, 15 hours? I don't know, math. But basically, I think he said, and I quote, and I'm pretty sure this is verbatim, "Why the hell are we running so late? This is the third night in a row I'm going to go home and not see my kids before they go to bed." And something just snapped. Something just clicked for me, where I was like, nope, I can't do this. This isn't it. And I thought, and my, the next rotation, that was the very end of my rotation too. The very next rotation I had was family medicine. It was primary care. And I worked with a doctor who was phenomenal. She was great. She's one of my mentors. I could not be more thankful for her. And she saw a ton of musculoskeletal medicine. She saw like a third of her practice was just dealing with bones and joints. And I was like, oh, all right, so you do a lot of this. You do a lot of what I like. You just don't go to an OR. And I realized there's a whole subset of primary care sports medicine that you can go into and do everything. You do head to toe. I mean, a lot of orthopods, they just pick a couple joints like, oh, I'm a knee and shoulder guy, and that's all I do. But as primary care sports medicine, you do head to toe, all musculoskeletal issues, some neurologic and rheumatoid issues, and you just don't go to the OR. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. I love that. Give me more of that. And like most things, I'm pretty stubborn. I put my nose to the grindstone, got into a fellowship, worked my ass off, and here I am. And that's how I got where I am. And it's pretty traditional. I think it's more, if anything, it's just flushing out a lot of like what medical training is and what it looks like and what we put ourselves through and what we sacrifice to do what we do. So that's my tale. And that's kind of Alex, we talked earlier. What did you call it? What did you say about me being kind of the straightforward trajectory?
I don't remember this. Did I say it was like the basic bitch route or something like that?
That's what it was. Yeah,
Okay.
you're like the basic bitch
That sounds like something I would
of
say.
career choices. Yeah, me and my sports doctor coat with my Starbucks and my Lululemon tights. So it's perfect. Sums me up as a person. But anyways, that's how I got to where I am. I figured I'd start because I'm the quote-unquote traditional route. The one hiccup I had was that I hated what I wanted to do, so I switched gears. And I was very, very lucky that I landed into exactly what I love doing and want to do.
Oh, hiccups. That'll come up later. Don't worry.
Alex, you have a very non-traditional route. I'd love to hear more of your story.
Okay. Good Lord. Okay. So I ended up taking 5 years of undergrad because actually, I think almost everybody in my family, my brother and my sister both ended up taking a 5th year. Got it in my head that for some reason, that extra bachelor's degree, that'll really make me marketable somehow. Pro tip, didn't do that.
Wait, did you double bachelor's?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I double bachelor's and got a minor. So I did biochemistry, molecular biology, and I also did a minor in classics, like classical history and language.
This only makes my story worse. It's fine.
Oh, no, it's fine. I don't want to ruin your story, Ben, but I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to do it.
Do it.
So after that, I get out of college and end up not getting the kind of job that I would have wanted, which would have been more like a research kind of science position. That's what I really wanted. But I had to pay bills at some point because, money runs out after a certain amount of time, as it turns out.
You can't just take infinite loans.
Yeah, somehow that doesn't work. At some point, they start like calling you on the phone and saying, "Hey, about that money you owe us."
About your kneecaps.
Oh, I sold those years ago.
You can't break them if I don't have them.
Exactly.
Medical research?
That's when I got rid of one of my lungs and one of my kidneys. You only need one of them, and they can't steal them from you, so it's perfect. Regardless, no, I ended up working in an office. Ironically, an office that probably, for lack of a better term, sold the parts that, Dan, you probably had to do test orthopedic surgeries on. I don't know if I've ever told you about this.
I've worked in a few ortho labs. I know what you're talking about. The cadaver, essentially joints that people donate.
Yep, exactly. So I helped sell
Did
those.
you sell dead buddies?
I basically sold dead bodies.
Oh, you sold them. Oh, I was gonna say no. I experimented on them.
No,
But
I
that-
sold dead bodies.
Yeah, he sold them for you to Dr. Frankenstein on them.
Exactly.
You see dead bodies? Oh, you sell them. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no. When people donate their bodies to science, there's some middlemen who are like, aha, how are we going to get these to a hospital and make sure they're refrigerated and give them the parts that they want? And that's basically what this group's job was.
The answer to that whole question is ice cream truck. Just for the record. But go on.
Have you ever been around a body that's been in a freezer for more than a few days, PJ?
I haven't been around a body ever, and I don't really want to.
There's that we had whole like stages of like, here's how decayed the body is, here are like these numbers for like smell and coloration and all this other stuff. Like we can't sell them to someone if they're going to be like, okay. Also, for the record, they don't technically sell them. It's a whole thing. Don't worry about it too much. Moving on from there, I ended up working.
I don't want to steal too much more time because I know I've talked a lot, but that does remind me of a funny story that I have to share because again, it's just more of like who I am as a person.
Dan, this is your podcast. Bring it on.
Our podcast. So the foot and ankle lab I worked in, we had like 16 foot cadavers. And I would have to basically prep them for the research, would end up dissecting them. So there's a whole thawing process. I basically would have to, like 24 hours in advance, I mean, just think thawing a turkey or whatever, pull them out of the freezer at least a day ahead, and then I could work on essentially the parts I needed to work on, except for one day where I forgot to put one back. And I left it there over a winter break where me and my mentor were both on vacation.
Oh, no!
His office shares of like a ventilation shaft with that room. Oh my god. He's such a quiet, he's like the one reason I worked with him, he's so nice for an orthopod and a surgeon. And you know, not all surgeons are demons, but like he was super nice. He was so friendly. He basically told me in my face I'm a fucking idiot without saying those words. Because he's like, yeah, that my whole room smells like dead body. The room I spend 8 hours a day working in. I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm like a little lowly med student just trying to get a letter of recommendation. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
And there's nothing that covers up that smell. Like it.
Just
like,
time. Because there is a ventilation part of it. So eventually it doesn't smell that awful. It just smells like formaldehyde forever. So he kind of accepted that his office was going to smell like formaldehyde. It's the dead body smell. It just takes forever to get rid of.
Yeah. Good Lord, Dan.
Anyway, so sorry for the detour. I just thought I should add that.
I mean, leaving out dead body parts, you know, let's...
So have you guys seen those Febreze commercials where they like blindfold them and set them in a room and spray Febreze and say, hey, so I'm picturing something like that with dead bodies.
Oh, God. It's just rotten meat, but worse.
But they're like, yeah, this smells good. I'll have lunch now.
Oh. Fun fact, formaldehyde makes you hungry. It actually stimulates the hunger drive. So that's why when people would leave Cadaver Lab, be like, I really want lunch, even though we just did horrible things.
Interesting.
I want ground beef.
Alex, please continue.
In any case, after I left that job for the obvious reasons that it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing, was just paying the bills, I found a job that was at a laboratory, but it was not a research laboratory. It was a blood testing laboratory. It was at the night shift, so there was the running joke that I was a fucking vampire because I just stayed up all night working around blood constantly, and that was fun. By which I mean it was... Yeah. That's how Maria would introduce me. That's how my wife, Maria, would introduce me to everybody that we met ever. Oh, here's my husband, the vampire. And I was like, huh? Because I was a zombie during the day because I was working night shift from like 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. like 4 days a week.
Body never returns to normal after that.
Yeah, it was fun. And I made the mistake of being like, oh, I'll do the night shift so that I can do a class during the day and get a letter of recommendation so I can start my PhD or like start something like that. I fell asleep during almost all of the classes because, you know, in hindsight, of course I did. That was so stupid. Why would I try to do that? The class was at like noon on like Wednesdays, and I had worked from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. that same day, basically. And then I would try to sleep for 3 hours and get up and go to that. And I was like, oh, why?
Why? Yeah, no, I feel that.
Yeah.
I get the ambition, I get the drive, but holy shit.
Yeah, my life is a cavalcade of me biting off a little bit more than I can chew, and then not really like realizing it until halfway through and being like, that was the mistake. Okay.
Not just choking and being like,
Oh no. I have suppressed my gag reflex at this point. That's how I don't choke. Regardless. No, I did a year of that. I actually wanted to stay on because the pay was really good for the night shift. They were paying me like a lot more than I had been making at other places, and I would get overtime if I worked overtime, which was not the case for the first place, which was salaried. But then they just didn't renew my contract, and I never got an explanation as to why, which was super weird. Spent a couple months just searching for jobs. Ended up getting a metal plating factory job for a little while. I was a chemist for them, so I was doing like testing on the giant vats of stuff that they use to plate metal for like aeronautics parts. And then I got into a car accident, and I had to put a cast on me. And then once I was out of the cast, I was in a metal brace, which made working in a plating factory full of caustic things that would eat metal not the best thing in the world. And so then I ended up stumbling back asswards into a job working at the very same university that I graduated from for one of the PIs, one of the primary investigators for a research lab. So it was, yay, great. I finally found the thing that I wanted. It only took 2.5 years after graduation. Yay. And that's when I realized that, as it turns out, PhD programs, especially in the biosciences, are the worst. The average turnaround time for actually completing one of those programs is 6 years. And keep in mind, I wasn't even in the PhD program. I was just a laboratory technician working there so that I could get a recommendation, so that I could apply to do a PhD program at some point in the future, because that's what I wanted to do. And, I had some of the worst bosses that I have ever had in my entire life in that lab. I will never name names because that's unprofessional, but just here's the thing that made them so bad. You've had, I'm sure, bosses that are like those like helicopter bosses. They want to know everything you're doing.
Right.
And then you've had those bosses that are super duper hands off, and they're like, oh yeah, just let me know as you're doing things. It's fine. And they just kind of let you do your own thing.
Yeah.
These people were the worst of both of those worlds in every way possible.
Oh, so like to the extremes, to the point of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, well, you figure it out.
No.
Or, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom. Well, let me make sure you're doing it right.
It was both at the same time somehow. So they would give you no direction, no idea what you were supposed to be doing, no general description of what your job actually was supposed to be. But they would also at the same time just like keep like piling things onto you at the same time. And then they would ask me, and this was the thing that really was like, when I first started having to do it, I was like, this is weird. Okay. They started having me do hourly schedules throughout the week. They wanted a breakdown over the course of the week of every hour of every day, what I was doing. And they wanted me to write it out in a spreadsheet and send it to them. And then they would criticize and say, oh, well, this shouldn't take that long. And various things like that. And so I would send them these spreadsheets, not hear anything back, and then get a passive-aggressive message a few days later saying, oh, I don't know why you said this should take 2 hours. This should only take you like 30 minutes. What's going on with that? And it's like, okay, guys, are you in the lab ever? Do you remember what it's like to be new at this? Or do you just like, have no sense of self-awareness?
They're PhDs. I'm willing to bet they've buried themselves in their research so much they forgot how humans work.
Yeah. No, they were just bastards.
And you're doing PhDs for the right reason, right? The fame and the money.
Yeah, of course.
So, out of curiosity, how long did you budget to make the spreadsheet itself?
That's the big thing. I probably had to spend about an hour at least a week figuring out everything I was going to be doing, and none of it was right because I always ended up with something new on my plate that would disrupt my schedule. And it was the worst because I would send them my schedule and then they wouldn't update it. They wouldn't say, hey, we're going to have you do this later this week. I would find out the day of that I would have to shift things around and fit something else into my schedule. And when I eventually, finally tapped out and said, "Hey, I've got too much on my plate, guys. I'm stretched a little thin. You're having me look at two separate mouse colonies, one of which is immunocompromised, so I can't go to both of them to manage them at the same day. I have my own experiment, and I'm also managing all the purchasing for the laboratory, and I'm also doing like all of this other like side bitch work for some of your PhD students who don't have the time to do it. I'm a little stacked on things to do, and I would like to have a life outside of work." And he fucking says to me, "Well, I don't think that any of this takes as long as you think it does. I want you to give me a detailed list of everything that you like, how long you think every regular task you do takes." He sent me that message at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night when I was already at home. And obviously, like a normal person, I decided to not check my work email at home. I get back at 7 a.m. the next morning and find out that he has sent a couple of choice emails to me saying, "I can't believe you didn't even respond to this. I can't believe you didn't even get back to me." Oh, I wanted to kill him. So rather than kill him, what I instead did was I just made an excuse and told him I'm not showing up to work anymore for what I said was a good reason. It wasn't really the best reason, but I gave it as a reason. And I stopped going to work. And I found something else to do for about a year. And around the same time, my wife was applying for law school, and her dad was a law professor at the time and still is. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I can do anything related to that." I found out about patent law as a thing that you can do if you've got a science background. And so then I started going to law school, took the LSAT, got in with a decent scholarship, and started doing my business. And I'm never looking back. It's way faster than a PhD program. I'm going to make way more money, and it's not bad work. Like, people say that it's like, oh, it's soul crushing. And it's like, no, it's kind of interesting. I get to look at inventions that people made and try to, like, talk about them and learn about them and describe them. It's fun.
I like your optimism, because I feel like Patrick's going to be like the yin to your yang, or maybe yang to your yang. I forget which is which.
I mean,
but...
I have actually worked with like patent clients and clinics. Like, I haven't officially started the job side of it, but like, I have worked the real thing, so it's fine. It should be fine.
Can I just say I feel like I just listened to a gymnastics routine. Like, I saw a gymnastics routine in my head as I listened to this bounce around tale. Good lord.
Yeah.
Oh, just you wait.
That's the life.
Ben, I want to save you for last because I want to hear PJ's speed run, because I feel like I knew PJ from like freshman year in the dorms. He didn't live in our dorms, but you wouldn't know that. In fact, our like dorm, our community director, whatever the person who's like the head of the dorm and in charge of the RAs, he thought PJ lived in our dorm.
Oh, I used to mess with him so much.
poor Ross. Ross, if you're listening, we miss you. You were the best.
Okay, so beginning of the semester, they had a barbecue, and he was there, and I knew him personally. I knew like everybody at that dorm because I pretty much lived there without actually living there. And I walk up to him, and we had ID cards that would let us in the building. I literally like handed him my ID card. I'm like, "Hey, dude, this isn't working. Let me in the building." He's like, "Oh yeah, just leave it on." And he's literally like, "Yeah, just leave it on my desk. I'll have the guy look at it or give you a new card." I'm like, "Okay, thanks."
No, you need your cat card or the ID card at that time for pretty much everything.
Yeah, exactly. I had to keep it with him, but it was just like he was so sold on that. I was there, he didn't care. He was like,
it just became a running gag. I don't know if he ever learned you didn't live there.
I don't think he did. We talked about it from Jeremy, but he had a sleeping bag in his room, so like I would spend the night sometimes just because I wanted to.
Oh yeah, I remember that. So yeah, getting back to the original point, I feel like I blinked. I like finished undergrad, and you were working as a pharmacist, and I was like, wait, hold on, what just happened?
Yeah, pretty much. So we mentioned my dad a little bit earlier, and I kind of told him that I wanted to do pharmacy school. He's like, okay, that's fine. But my dad's like, if you're going to do something, do it. I was like, okay, like, what do you mean by that? So this was when I was in like 11th or 12th grade. So he pretty much printed off the prereqs for every pharmacy school within about 500 miles, which is like 3 schools.
Oh.
And he was like, these are the prereqs for pharmacy schools. Like, if you don't want to become a doctor and you want to do pharmacy, here are the prereqs. Have at it. Like, okay. So I pretty much looked at those before I even stepped foot into college for my undergrad. And everything I pretty much did from like 11th grade on was to get set up for that.
Jesus.
At the time required it. Well, not required it officially, but they pretty much did without saying so. Like 95% or something like that of the people they would let in had a bachelor's, but you didn't have to get one.
Okay.
And Midwestern was kind of the same way, but they were a little bit more lax about it. And I applied to both. And, well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I did all the prereqs, and for most schools, they want science classes done in undergrad on like a live campus, which that's understandable. So I did all the non-science prereqs pretty much through AP classes and got that pretty much out of the way. So when I stepped foot on to the college campus, I pretty much took 4. I think I even did 5 sometimes. 4 to 5 science classes with labs per semester.
Good Lord. That's why I never saw you. When we saw you on the weekends, it was just like a blessing, just PJ out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so Crossler was the science building at U of A, if you remember, Dan.
Yeah.
And I pretty much joked, I was like, I'm going to have a sleeping bag in Jeremy's room and put one in Koffler because I'm just going to sleep there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I just kind of did that whole thing, did the labs. And like the first 2 weeks, kind of getting used to it was kind of rough. I got used to it by the end of it.
Didn't you actually apply to pharmacy school after your freshman year?
I did.
And they told you, we can't take you because you're barely 18. You should probably do another year of experience or something like that, right?
Kind of. So I applied like a couple weeks into my sophomore year. So pretty early on.
Got it.
That's not normal, right? Like, you're supposed to apply after you graduate?
Like, it's pretty much whenever you have your prereqs done, you can apply. You can apply anytime, technically, but you want to apply like for that rolling cycle.
You apply a year in advance, basically.
Right, exactly. So like if you're applying in August, you're expecting to start in like May or June.
Yeah, so you applied more or less as a freshman, saying, once I finish sophomore year, will you guys take me? And
yeah, basically.
Psychotic.
And I had everything done, or like I would have, and I did, but I was expecting to get waitlisted and then maybe let in or like something like that because I checked all the boxes they wanted. But like I was kind of surprised, so I took the PCAT, I did everything that they wanted, got the score that they needed, etc. And I got a letter back saying, "Hey, we can't take you this year." I was like, "Oh, well, that's a bummer. Okay, that's fine." So I signed up for a third year. I was like, I'll just do something else. So I changed my major to physiology. I was like, I'll just do that for now. And then this one was that was kind of funny. So like I'm in the summer, I would come back to Phoenix. I volunteered and I also kind of worked at the same time. And I was volunteering at the hospital, and I got a phone call. It was like May 25th or so from the dean of Midwestern at the time, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry we rejected you. Classes start in like 3 days. Can you make it in?"
That's awesome. Oh my god, I didn't know that part. I didn't know. I thought it was like the next year you got in.
No, I started. Yeah, I only had 2 years of undergrad, but yeah, I got that phone call, and so I was volunteering, just doing whatever, like in the pharmacy counting pills. And I asked my pharmacist at the time, I'm like, "Hey, I've got a voicemail. Do you mind if I check this real quick?" He's like, "Yeah, go for it." So I step outside, I check the voicemail, and he's like, "Who was it?" And I told him, I'm like, "Hey, this is what happened." And he's like, "Go home." I'm like, "I can finish my shift or whatever." He's like, "Dude, you just got into pharmacy school. You're not volunteering anymore. Go home."
You've done your time.
What a chill person.
You did it, bud.
So I said to my dad, just kind of like, whatever you're gonna do, just do it. And my mom was like, "I don't care what you do, just stay home." Like she's always like, or at least stay in Phoenix because I want you nearby. Like I'm an only child, just culturally, like we're closer together. So she's like, "I don't care what you do, but just stay close." Okay. So she thought I was gonna go back to Tucson, which she didn't really like, even though it's only 2 hours away. So I came back home and I'm like, "Hey, Mom, I got into Midwestern. I'll be staying here." And she literally looks up to me, and like my mom doesn't cuss generally. She literally looks at me and says, "Don't fuck with me." And I'm like, "I'm not messing with you." Like, and she's like, "You didn't get waitlisted. Like, stop lying to me. This isn't fun."
Oh my god, I've met your mom. I can't picture that. I can't see that.
Right.
She's so mild mannered. I don't believe that.
Yeah. And she literally thought like I was playing like the worst practical joke on her ever. And I'm like, "I'm not making any of this up." She's like, "You didn't get waitlisted." I'm like, "I agree, I didn't get waitlisted, but here, you can listen to the voicemail." So I had her listen to it, and she's like, "Oh, that's awesome." And like she's in tears, like crying, like so happy. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
And how long was your program? Was it 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years. So U of A is 4, Midwestern is 3, because they don't really do breaks. It's 10 weeks on, 1 week off, and you basically rinse and repeat that for essentially 3 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember just like finishing my first year of med school, and you'd be like, "Hey, I got a job, and I'm a retail pharmacist." I was like, "What the hell? We were in the dorms together, but not really."
Right, and we even had some classes together. I think we took physio together or some other stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, for sure.
You basically took it for fun. Let's be real.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was kind of fun. Did the whole Midwestern thing. I worked throughout the whole time. So I've been working at a retail chain since I was 16, and I stuck with them for the most part. And so I just kind of continued that on. And even during my whole time in pharmacy school, I kept working for them. And most people in my class, if they worked at all, would work like 4 or 5 hours a week, maybe. I still worked like 15, 20 hours a week throughout pharmacy school.
Good Lord, man.
And honestly, I felt like I learned more from that than pharmacy school at times. Or like if I learned something, I could go and actually like see how it's really done or like implement it right away. So all that kind of helped.
That's so cool to me because I'm like, man, I became a specialist by 30. And it's just like, yeah, I've been doing my normal career since 22, 23. I'm like, what the hell? Benjamin, I want to hear your story.
Well, so of all the people who are so PJ sped run the route. I'm slow running the route.
You're taking victory laps.
I did take victory laps, 3 of them. So to just like bite the bullet, I am not yet in my field that I would like to be in.
He hasn't even reached his final
I
form.
am an engineer by trade, well, by degree, specifically aerospace, and I do not currently work in the aerospace engineering field. I am, for lack of a better term, I am a blue-collar worker.
Well, yeah, you work in material sciences right now. Like, you make things, and it's specifically in fiberglass.
That's putting it gently. But this is basically how my entire route went. So I breezed through high school, didn't have any problems with it, really didn't have to study, got to college, thought I wanted to be a physicist. So I went to, at least 2 of the other people here went to U of A. I went out of state from Arizona. I went to Purdue and went in physics. And I realized very quickly that this was not what I wanted to do. But I also wasn't getting great grades, because turns out those I can do nothing and get good grades from high school doesn't really work in college. And by doesn't really work, I mean, no, doesn't work at all.
I gotta ask, because at U of A, we actually had really difficult, like, weed out physics programs. So, like, I struggled in physics, and I'm good at physics. I felt like I actually did really well in that particular science, and I barely squeaked by with like an 89.5%. Was physics at Purdue essentially like a weed out for their, astrophysics departments or what have you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's, and like to know, I was also in like honors physics and the honors program, which my family, who also went to Purdue, was like, "Oh, you're in the honors program, huh? How's that going?" Because once, for listeners, if you're not yet in college, honors in college is an extra word on your diploma.
It does nothing.
And a ton of extra work. It does nothing. That's great and all. It does nothing.
It's like someone took a sticker and put it on your diploma. I graduated honors physiology and business. It did nothing.
I graduated physiology with honors sticker. Yeah, it does nothing.
I did not graduate in the honors program, and my wife did, and we both ended up going to the same law school. So, if that tells you anything.
Does Maria resent that at all? I gotta ask. Did she give you shit, or do you give her shit, I should say?
I mean, I'm going to say this quietly because she's in the other room somewhere, but she resents the fact that I am getting much better grades than she did throughout law school. So,
I know how competitive you two are.
and not a little bit better, but like a lot
Oh.
Ouch, salt in the wound. Yeah, don't tell her that. You'll die.
Oh, yeah, no, she'll cut me.
Sorry, Ben, continue.
So, yeah, I started in physics. Thought I was going to do, like, astrophysics, study black holes, that kind of stuff, which is, I still think is really cool. Weird, I like space.
Weird.
I ended up not liking that route and ended up, over a little bit, changing into the engineering program, and specifically the aerospace engineering program. After a few years, just note, I took 7 years in college, so you can do it. It happens. You can do it. After 7 years in college, I graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering, and I am currently not working anywhere near in my field. I am working in a field for one of my hobbies.
Well, the point is, like, I feel like the motto and the takeaway of a lot of this is, like, we're all running different races. We're not all running the same race. Like, as long as you get to where you want. And my brother, like, has my other brother, not the one on the podcast. My middle brother, because Patrick is my oldest brother, he has a really, really good job. But I still feel like he hasn't found his passion. Like, and he's one of the most interesting people I know. So, like, I feel like the takeaway should be that not everybody has to be measured by the same, barometer. That right. You are still actively pursuing all leads and interests in your area of field while still studying and working, like, in your own free time and keeping up with trends and technology.
Yeah. So, like, I've been graduated for I guess over 5 years now, but I never had an internship. I haven't yet gotten a job in there. Some of that's my own doing of just not trying hard enough. I'm sure if I was persistent, I could, but I'm looking at grad school and specifically in aerospace engineering. I also keep up. It's my passion. I keep up with the field. I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and I know you're also, like, still in touch with contacts too, that you've, like, you're still actively sending out resumes, still talking to certain businesses and companies and basically keeping your name out there.
Like, on the date of recording, I know that within the last week, Astra failed their last launch because their second stage didn't do well.
Not to date this podcast. Not to date it.
Hey, if somebody can date it from that,
oh, well done.
Good on them. That'll take research, but not too much. I wasn't too specific.
Just a quick
Google. I did a semester at ASU pre-pandemic.
Oh, right.
I ended my second semester there was spring 2020. I was doing, to put in perspective, my grades at Purdue were mediocre to fine. I did 2 semesters at ASU. My grades were really good.
Didn't you get a 4.0 or did you get a B in one of your classes?
I didn't get a 4.0. But I got like a 3.9.
Nice.
Yeah, man, that's something to be proud of.
I got on the dean's list and I'm like, oh hey, this is a thing.
Oh yeah, they do that.
So that was in pursuing degree courses on a pursuing 2 degree courses on a completely different path. Fun fact, when you've done all the prereqs, you can pursue 2 degree courses at the same time very easily.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say, and you do a job in a field you like, in an area and related to your hobby that you love. Like, you do something indirectly related to something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not what you were, like, geared towards career-wise, but that's still cool. Like, I kind of do something related to my hobbies.
And I am also going to contribute to that in other ways. There was some thoughts when I was younger of picking up programming because I'm a big gamer. So, every gamer wants to make computer games, but that was always but I can do that as a hobby. People can teach themselves how to program. You can teach yourself how to program. But I will say, since other people have said, in that phase when you're 5, 6 years old, when people are like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a jet pilot. My go-to phrase was, I want to be an aerospace. Sorry. aeronautical engineer. I didn't quite do aeronautical. I do space stuff more, but I'm close. I don't do planes. I do spaceships. It's the same degree.
I'm pretty sure at one point I wanted to be a Power Ranger.
Sounds on brand.
When Dan wanted to be a Power Ranger, when Dan, who is now a doctor, certified, wanted to be a Power Ranger, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer.
Kids, it's about effort, not smarts.
Correct. Also, see last podcast, Dan locked his keys in his car when I first met him.
Oh my god, every episode you're on, you're going to say that.
Shut up.
I think with that, we anybody, you got any other anybody tidbits?
Yeah, if they're trying to date today's podcast, it was 92 in LA today, so good luck.
I love it.
Elon Musk made an announcement within the last week.
Oh god, that tells you nothing.
Not
Alex,
even going to say which company.
Alex, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to give one piece of genuine advice, and I think this is what I screwed up when I was going through undergrad that led to me not getting the job that I wanted out of undergrad. So to all of you listeners out there, maybe some of you who might be going through stuff and like trying to like finish your degrees, pro tip, get internships. Go actually work places. Like that's very valuable and useful and lets you put something on a resume. I never ever did that, and so everybody was like, "You've never worked at a laboratory, huh?" Okay.
that tone, I love that tone.
In addition to that, and on a serious note, it took me because I had a very bad transition into college. Find your niche and like get in with them. It took me finding what we called the Aero Lab, which was the computer lab for aerospace engineering students, where everybody was working hard. It took me finding that and getting friends there and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly I was getting good grades because I was surrounded by people doing the same amount of crazy work that I was. You can do it. Sometimes you just have to find the right environment.
BJ, what were you going to say?
100% agree with that. I'm going to piggyback off of that and say there's always a way to do something. Here's a little like mini story. It's really short. One of the pre-requirements for the college I got into was you have to take public speaking. Not every college had that requirement, but some did. So I went to the communication department at U of A and said, I need to take public speaking. And they're like, no, you're a science major. You're doing pharmacy. Go away. You're not taking public speaking. I was like, okay. Can I become a communications major? They said, why would you do that? I'm like, so I can take public speaking.
That's awesome.
But they were like, you can't do that. I'm like, says who? They're like, no, we can't let you do that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I started searching online through community colleges how I could take public speaking. But this was kind of late into the game. Like they were kind of wrapping up admissions for that semester. I found like one or two available slots for public speaking. And I was like, okay, yes, done. I signed up for it. And then I got on my registration, I saw it's public speaking done online. And this was pre-pandemic, obviously. This was like years ago at this point. So the only way for me to take public speaking and actually have it count towards what I wanted to and actually finish on the schedule I had set up for myself was to take public speaking but do it online.
How does that work?
It involves basically me not wearing pants and having a coat and talking to a webcam.
Oh man, that's the way to feel powerful.
So literally exactly what people have done for the past 2 years.
You just anchor man your way through it.
Yeah, but I did it like 10 years ago because they made me.
That's why he's been so comfortable throughout the pandemic. Is he's like, I've been here. I was born here.
Except we were beyond essential and I had to go in anyway. But yeah, sure.
I was born in the darkness.
I think with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Thank you guys.
I'm sorry. You were born without pants. It's true.
I think we're all born without pants. It's more concerning if you're born with pants. Wait a minute.
Shit, were you not born with pants? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I had some nice corduroys when I came out.
I mean, Boss Baby came out in a suit, so why not?
And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you guys for being here and doing this with me. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you to our sponsors, if we have any sponsors, for your support. And you don't know that. Your first episode could be a hit. And I think, anyways. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week, and peace out.
Goodbye.
Bye.